Joe, it's our first episode recording since I got back from my fun vacation.
This felt a little like the worst of the pandemic times because like you only existed in like two chat boxes. It was a nice little throwback. It was fun.
It was, I'm not gonna talk about all the fun things because, that's not that kind of show. And also that would be like, showing off. That'd be ostentatious. No, I'm gonna talk about how, the process sucked shit. International travel. Joe, okay. So I was under the mistaken impression, and this is because I'm a dumbass, and I have a weak brain, that, because there was a vaccine that worked exceptionally well in April, and then I got that vaccine, I was under the impression that I would then be able to travel in July. Now, that was the dumbest move of all time. That was a huge error. But I had bought the tickets, and my in-laws were excited for us to come. So we went anyway. And by and large, I'm just going to cut you off at the pass. Trip was good. I'm glad I went. I would not recommend any of you motherfuckers do any international travel because, fuck, oh man, it's just a big nightmare and no one knows what they're fucking doing. And it's, Joe, can I tell you some little stories about what happened to me?
Yeah, please illustrate the rot. That'd be great.
Yeah, okay. So, we, again, made the fool's error of having a layover in London on our way to Spain, which is where my in-laws live. They live near Malaga, which is a town in southern Spain. It's a beach town, which will become relevant later. So there's no fucking flights from Chicago to Malaga. They don't exist. You have to lay over somewhere, and it has to be some other country. You might get a Madrid to Malaga layover, but it's unlikely. So we had our layover in London. And at this time, when we booked the tickets, if you said to me, Tom, how's it going in London with regard to the virus, I'd say same as anywhere else, I think. No, when we got there, it was Plague Hell Island, and it was very scary to be on that toad land. Anyway, the point being, in order to get into these foreign countries, every single one of them has a completely different set of forms you have to fill out, and these forms and what applies to you and what you need to do based on where you're going and what country you're coming from and how long you're staying, et cetera, et cetera. That's going to be different from each country, and also the explanation are going to be spread between like 6 different government websites. It's not all going to be on the same page. It's going to be spread across, and there will be times when it's like, to find out which form you need to do, click here, and you go okay, and you click there, and then that page is like, you will need to fill out a form, and it's like, no form though. Okay, so it's a puzzle in and of itself to just figure out what you have to fucking do. Eventually, with much consternation and stress on my part, I did create the forms that were required to enter the UK on a layover basis, and then enter into Spain. Now, these forms more or less are contact tracing forms. They say where you're going, where you've been, and what flight you were on, so that if there is a COVID outbreak, they can inform you that someone has near you that you've been in contact with has the fucking virus. Okay, sounds fine, right? Okay, so we get on the
not really.
I know it sounds terrible, but it sounds like a system. Like, it sounds like something's happening here. Like, people are taking steps for my safety.
Yeah, at least on paper, sure.
Yeah, Joe, I think you see where this story goes. I think you peer into the very future, because here I'm going to tell you the turn. So we get on the fucking flight. They look at all of our stuff. They look at all of our forms, and we have to show them that we're vaccinated. They don't say, none of the websites said bring your proof of vaccination, but they asked for it, and we were like, we knew you would, fucker, so we brought it anyway, just in case. And so they let us on the plane, and we went to Spain. It all went smoothly. Everything was on time. The flight to fucking London, we got there on time. We got through the little thing. There was not a lot we had to do in fucking London. We got on the other flight to Malaga, and we were like, oh boy, this rules. Almost there. I thought this would be much harder. And on the plane, they're like, hello, everyone has to fill out this new form. It's for contact tracing purposes. We all said on the plane, we already have done this. We needed that form to get on the plane. It's here. And we hold up our form, and they're like, no. This is a different form. You need to do this in addition to the one you've already done. And we said, okay. And so we filled out this form. It had much the same information requested, a few differences. So we figured, okay, they're doubling up for whatever reason. That's fine. So we get to Malaga, and we're in the terminal. And it's like, we got to go to border control. Let's find out where that is. And so we're going around. There's only really one direction to go. There's a big escalator going down. We get on that escalator. Once we're on it and sort of understand where we're going and look down it, we see that where we're going is just a big sea of British toads. It's just a big mass of people in a formless mob that is completely filling the area that this escalator is going down to. If we were a few minutes later, we would have to like turn around and walk back up the down escalator because it would just like conveyor belt us into a wall of dudes. And we're like, oh, that's bad. Oh, this doesn't seem good. So we're just in this huge fucking mob of people, and we have come from England, and this is a like 2-hour flight from England, so like barely a trip. And also, Malaga is a beach town, and they're from Toad Island, where the beaches are made from huge rocks and are cold. So the entire flight and all the other flights coming into Malaga are like 100% British people. So I am just in this huge crowd in this unventilated, very close, low-ceilinged airport room in a big mob. There's none of those little ribbon thingies that, little tension barriers that make a little line. It's just a big mob. And I assume that we're waiting to go through border control because there's no other fucking place to go. And we're there for, Joe, I'm going to say about 2 hours in this huge mob where everyone is right next to each other. We have our masks on. Many people don't. Many people pull their fucking masks down under their chin to honk out big, wet British breaths. It's a nightmare. There's someone behind me who says they are upset about the state of the queue, as they call it. And they say, oh, someone should post on Twitter about what's going on at the Malaga airport.
Well, first of all, that's a shitty post. That's not. I would not retweet that. That sucks.
It's boring. There's a big line at the airport. Yeah, no shit, buddy. I would never post that. That's why I didn't post about it. Holy moly. They said Malaga every time, dude. Malaga. There's no R. Why do they do that?
Like, they invented the language, so I guess they're free to vandalize it.
Anyway, okay. So, hours and hours go by. And by hours and hours, I mean 2 hours. The lowest amount that can be hours and hours. And we finally make our way up to the fucking border control. And I'm like, okay, I got all of my forms out. I have the contact tracing locator form I made for Spain before I left. I have the one I filled out on the airplane that they said was different, and then it's also mandatory. And then I also have my passport, and I also have my itinerary so I can explain to them where I came from, what countries I laid over in, etc., etc. So what I did was I handed all those documents and my passport to the guy, one of the 2 guys checking passports for about 500 people in line.
So each person's going to be running through 250 bodies?
Yeah, and I think 500 might be a low estimate.
It's not, okay.
So I hand him all this shit. He takes my passport, and then all of the papers, all of the ancillary papers for, like, COVID, he looks at as though I just handed him human shit in his hand. Like, the contempt and disgust he had for me for giving him that shit.
Sir, when I was waiting in line, this came out of my ass. I wanted you to have it.
I mean, that's what it looked like. He pushed that shit back to me with a little, like angry flourish. It wasn't just, like, push it back. It was, like, kind of thrust it back. Like,
so he didn't read it? He didn't read it?
No. He didn't even not read it. He never even would consider, like, me suggesting that he ever would read it was an insult. Here's what he did. He took my passport, he opened it to the pages where you stamp the shit, and he stamped it and handed it back to me and pointed through the door. Not a word spoken, and I went through. And I thought to myself, that's bad. Uh-oh. And Joe, and here's the funny part. I didn't like that whole thing. I was like, I definitely am going to get COVID from that bad room I was in Malaga Airport. I'm going to have to tell everyone on Twitter that I got COVID. But no, I was fine. I'm like, week goes by, no symptom whatsoever. We're definitely fine. We got it. No worries. Now, when we go back, I'm thinking to myself, well, I know that the Malaga Airport is like run by Spaniards, so it's fucking a clown show. It's just ridiculously terrible. No one's competent or knows what they're doing. O'Hare, for all of its faults, it's one of the top travel hubs in the world. It knows how to get it done. So I figured, that was a fluke. That was just the Malaga Airport having its capacity shattered by the completely unforeseeable event of planes arriving. They had no idea what to do when planes arrived, and as a result, they had only 2 passport checkers, and I assumed that they just were so pissed off that they had to stay late checking all these people's passports that they decided to call an audible and just not look at any of the fucking forms I had to fill out. And I figured when I went home it would be different.
You thought that you thought that was Spanish excellence.
Yeah. Yes, I thought that was just Malaga fucking me. No, Joe, no. It's the same all over. It's the same story everywhere. Not only that, it was worse in O'Hare.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
At O'Hare, was it the same 2 guys? Maybe they're very tired.
No, it was different guys. Actually, in O'Hare, they were fully staffed. All of the border control thingies, all of the little booths had guys in them. There just were way more people. And I did post about this on Twitter, that the line for the border control is no joke. It was the longest line I've ever seen for anything. It's one of the biggest crowds I've ever been in, period. Certainly the biggest crowd I've been in since the pandemic. And we were in that for I think like 2.5 hours. And it was hell on earth because here's the thing, Joe. We had all of our forms again. There was another form we got handed on the plane again. And this was like a COVID symptoms form. It was like, what countries have you been in the last 2 weeks? Have you had any of these symptoms in the last 2 weeks? Have you been in contact with anyone who was tested positive? Did you take a COVID test in the last 3 days and was it negative? And I'm like, okay, I see what they're doing with this. And then there was a little part that's like, this part is for the screener to fill out. And it has little boxes like, what was this person's temperature? And like, does this person look ill? Is this person having trouble breathing? And I'm like, this is really good. I feel safe that this is part of the intake process to get into the country after international travel, because I've been pretty scared, because in Spain there's a lot of fucking British people honking their big wet breaths everywhere in my face. So we're in the big line. It's a nightmare. We get to, I think, halfway, and I realize at this point, they never gave us customs forms. I've been in international travel before, and they give you customs forms where you have to write down your name and address and if you have anything that you need to declare. And I remember them, and I wondered why I wasn't seeing them now. And halfway through, there's a airport employee who is handing out the customs forms, and I'm like, okay, I see it now. I see how it is. And also, this is going to help me pass the time. It's going to be a little fucking puzzle for me to fill out while I'm in the line to pass the time. And when I get to within receiving distance of this woman and the forms, we can hear that every time she hands one out, she says the same line, which is 1 form per family, don't fill this out.
Just touch it. Really, just get your fingers all over it.
Yeah, don't fill, I was like, that, she's gotta be getting the script wrong. Are you, I'm sorry, don't, it's an empty form, it's blank, if what we needed was empty forms, you could have just put them at the end. Like, you could just give them to the guy at the end, the blank form.
Like carnival tickets, just hand them out.
But I took it. She said, don't fill it out, so I didn't. I'm like, you know what? I'm fully prepared to get to the end, and the ticket guy is going to be like, where's your customs form? And I'm going to say right here, he's going to be like, this shit's blank, you idiot. What the fuck?
It's like, that lady doesn't work here? What are you doing?
We go to the end of this line, and this line is laid out in a truly criminal way, where like there's this huge endless hallway you can barely see all the way down, and it's separated into 3 lanes, and one is, you know, going to the end of it, and another's coming back, and then the third's going to the end of it again. So it's like, this is the longest hallway I've ever seen, plus I have to go up and down it 3 times. But what you don't realize until you're near the end of it on your first trip down is that when you do see the end of the hallway, you realize it's not the end. It's actually a 90-degree turn. And when you make that 90-degree turn, I said out loud, "Oh no!" So loud that everyone around me laughed a little bit, because it's another hallway of the exact same length.
Holy. When you play Snake and you too aggressively try to like navigate within your own boundaries and you end up entombing yourself in your own snake body, that's what I'm thinking.
When you get you're like so near the end of what's capable to be done by human hands playing Snake that like the screen is mostly black. It just looks like the fucking Uzumaki spiral. It was that. And when we got to the end of that part of the hallway, with this L-shaped hallway, when we finally get to the end, we realize that opens up into a huge square room that has a zigzag line that goes for something like 150 feet, and that took an hour to get through. So it was a big nightmare. But when we were in sight of the fucking takers, of the passport checking guys, we saw that every single booth was filled. Okay, at least people are getting through quickly. It's just that the airport could never have predicted planes arriving when they did, and there just happened to be way more people than they could handle. That's the only explanation I can think of. So we finally get to the fucking passport takers. And you made a joke, it was the same 2 guys. It wasn't the same 2 guys, but very funny. When you get to the very end, you have to like pick a sub-line, and each sub-line goes to a desk that has 2 guys on it, and whoever is free first calls the next person in that sub-line. And we were like next, and both of the guys got up and left.
Oh, hell yes.
And we stood there for a while being like,
I'm sorry, you have to go to the end.
We were just like, all right, sure.
I would have just bolted at that point. I would have just full sprint. I would have left my luggage too.
No, okay, but they did come back. They like took a little break, and they came back, and I was like, oh fuck, thank God. And I go up once again. We hand over our passports. I make a tentative move to give him the forms that we have. And I just look at his face as I'm slowly like making the suggestion of like, I'm about to start giving these to you. And he gives me this like, again, stony look of total contempt, and I put the forms away. Again, wordlessly stamps our passports. We could have been anywhere, dude. We could have been out of the country for a year, breathing in the air of the sickest person in every country on earth. I could have drank a liter of Bolsonaro spit. They never would have known.
So, like, these are all people calling an audible that are like, oh, if we actually follow procedure, no one will go home ever again. Is that what's happening?
I think so. Like, especially, like, the ticket takers are like, well, no one's ever going to go home, especially me. Like, I want to go home. This job blows my ass. I will say, though, that they did ask for the customs declaration form, the one that they said don't fill this out. And I was like, what? Like, again, why are you asking? Like, why don't they just give you a stack of them, buddy?
Like, I don't want to be too critical, but I feel like they're setting people up to fail.
And so here's what he did. He took the blank form, and I'm like, here's where it comes. Here's where he's like, you bitch. You absolute chode with no brains. Why is this blank? I hate you. And then he'd shoot me with a gun. No, what happened was he took it and he wrote a 2 on it and he handed it back to me.
Because you and your wife, or
I guess. Is there any other reason that he would write a 2? I can't think of one. And I'm like, wait, you handed it back to, like, what? I don't want this. Like, I don't, what am I going to do with this? And we're like, fine, whatever. We go through, we get our bags from the baggage claim, and we're about to leave the secure area. And there's like one other person at a little podium who doesn't look like they work. They look like they're just like sitting there on their break. But when people walk by, they're like, oh, hey. And I'm like, what are they, like, what? And it's like, oh, this person is taking the customs forms. This is where, you know, all right, the guy wrote the number of people in the party on the form, and then this person is in charge making sure it's filled out.
This guy just eats them, right? Like, he just, you hand the paper to him, and he just eats them.
You joke, but yeah, in the sense that he makes the paper turn into garbage. He just takes the thing that says 2 on it, didn't look at it. It could have had any number, Joe. It could have said 4. Chaos. He just took the fucking thing and said, all right, and we left. And, man, again, would not recommend international travel in the foreseeable future if you can avoid it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Anime Sickos, the podcast for geniuses and the only podcast where we take a look at the 4 pillars of modern misery: anime, gaming, posting, and jobs. I'm Tom, an anime sicko, back again. I'm ready to record. I'm all fired up.
With a new dormant virus sitting deep below your bones, waiting to emerge. I'm Joe, an anime sicko. Probably never getting on a plane.
Yeah. You don't do it, dude. It's fucked. Although I did get to see Venom. That's a fucking dumb movie. I kind of liked it. It was so stupid.
There's a lot of like goop and slime, right?
Yeah. And Tom Hardy is like wet the whole time. He is very red. Like, he looks like shit. He looks like he'd never heard about sleep. It was great. No, but that's not. Before we get any further, Joe, we gotta do some house cleaning, which is to say, I gotta read some patrons' names out loud. You know how it is. Sometimes we get patrons, we got to read their names out loud because they gave us an appropriate amount of money to hit that tier. And I'm going to do it now. First up, another instance of our guesto to patron pipeline, in which a small seed money payment of us paying them for their time to be a guest turns into free income for us as they become our patron. It's Mike Hazier.
Hell yeah.
Who you might recognize as the voice of Violet Godsphere.
The personal insert who tells politics of the story, which is a very important role.
It's, you know, art is only good if a character turns directly to the camera and says, your politics are good, socialism is right. Otherwise, how do you know it's good? How do you know that's moral art? You don't.
Yeah. Like, the Muppets never turned to you and talked about, like, Project Paperclip, and that's on them. That's a weakness of them.
Thank you, Mike, for your donation. We love it. We think you kick ass. Anyway, next up. Oh, man. Joe, this patron's called Splinters of a Broken Sun.
Hell yes.
I'm going to go ahead on a whim and say that this is probably a podcast.
It is. I think it is a TTRPG podcast.
Joe, you're quite right.
Okay, cool.
It's called Stories of a Broken Sun. The sun is broken. The world struggles to rebuild. An actual play podcast featuring diverse voices, which takes place in an original anti-colonial setting.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. Our podcast, our actual play podcast, does not feature diverse voices. We're all white. It's a big weakness. Sorry.
There is some anti-colonial themes, though. That was basically what Dune was.
That's true. So we're like halfway there. We're halfway to where Stories of a Broken Sun is. So you could just go straight to them. Like, you don't even have to fuck around with our podcast. Just listen to them. And they patronize us. So again,
they have great taste.
yeah, great judgment. Next patron, that's gonna be Hazel McGinnis, and I'm seeing a euro sign. Now this scared me, Joe. McGinnis, I'm like, this could possibly be a British toad, but then you would see a pound symbol.
I believe that's yeah.
Yeah, you would see a pound symbol if that were the case, but this is a euro symbol. Having just been in Spain, I am in solidarity with Europeans in naming the Brits as my enemy. So Hazel, thank you. I'm with you.
Thank you for foreign money. Do we have to do like tax things now?
I think Patreon does that for us. I sure fucking hope there's something we have to do, because I'm not doing it.
Just so you know, the $200 we make, I put in the Cayman Islands in a shell company, just because better safe than sorry.
Yeah. Our next patron, that's going to be Kevin Lehman. Kevin, thank you for your generous donation. I don't have any jokes for him. He has a normal name. He's not a podcast. He's from America.
Thanks, Kevin, and your dollars. Or dollar.
No, if it was $1, I wouldn't say the name. It's got to be $5, Joe. And it is $5, I'll tell you. I'll out Kevin as a $5 giver.
I kind of love the $1 because it's just like...
Yeah.
It's sure. Yeah, keep at it, boys.
We'll take it. I mean, it feels just as good. And our final new patron is going to be Patrick Renholm. And this is another euro giver. I love looking at that little E. That E is so fucked up. They do but 2 lines in the middle. Don't they know that's wrong? You're only supposed to put 1.
Yeah, I guess that's better than having a bunch of different money, but I don't see it.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all the new patrons. Thank you so much for supporting us. You too can support the Anime Sickos by going to patreon.com/animesickos. And you can also give us money. We never mentioned this anymore, and I realize that that's a dumb move strategically, but the fucking store, animesickos.com/store, you can buy stickers from there. There used to be a t-shirt, but it was limited time only. Maybe we'll do another one day. I don't know. That wasn't me being coy. I really don't know.
Yeah, no planning on that front.
But yeah, that's animesickos.com/store. Anyway, now we have to do a show, don't we?
We do. So, what you described on your big boy trip to Spain was a system that is set up, and then really no one really thought to check if it worked or if it does the things it's supposed to on an international scale.
Mm-hmm. It's almost as though the structures of our society have rot baked into them at the very foundations, and total catastrophic failure is an acceptable outcome that does not require anything to change, and in fact is what should be expected.
Yeah, so I'm going to say we can extend that to the past few months, because I don't know if you've looked at the news, but it's like there's a lot of environmental storytelling happening.
Literally.
Yeah. There was a portal to hell.
Mm-hmm.
Did that ever stop? Was there closure on that front? I don't even know.
I think they put it out, but it was one of those things where, like, well, it's out in the sense that the ocean isn't on fire anymore, but like every piece of ocean life within a couple miles has definitely died, and also there's a bunch of like byproducts of burnt oil in the water now, and then when that evaporates, it's going to turn into acid rain and kill all the people on the land nearby. So like it's not over, but I think the fire is out.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like this solidified the realness of the trajectory we're on a little bit, and that like no one's gonna do anything.
Yeah, no one's getting out of it either. Like our buddy who moved to Portland a couple years ago, when he did that, we're like,
I was so jealous, man.
Yeah, what a great move! I can't believe I don't have the balls to do the same.
And now he's king of the Firelands.
He's the cooked boy who lives in fascism town. It owns.
It's very upsetting. Really, basically the entire time you were in Spain, the news felt like when you're playing an XCOM game and it's really getting away from you. Like the globe is spinning and it's like, oh man, did you see this? This is gonna hurt. And it was just constantly doing that, like on every front. And every region of the United States had their own event.
It was bad. And I think the thing that occurred that was really like the flashpoint to me that made my brain prick up and become furious wasn't actually one of these environmental disasters. Countless, numerous, and worse than ever before.
So frequent.
It was a post by some fucking guy who was the founder of what I thought was a company, but then when I clicked the link when I was researching, it's just his Medium page.
Small business owner.
But this person posted a post that got pretty viral. It has 15,000 likes, and it was retweeted over 2,000 times. And this person says, you guys should be pretty worried that people who basically study doom for a living, like me, are like, wait, this shit is off the charts of even our worst predictions.
My first reaction is that this is a little ego-driven. It's just like, I see the path before us, and it's like, I'm not studying it, and I kind of get it.
I saw this, and I was just like, why are you saying this to me? I should be worried? Yeah, dude, I am. Every day of my life, sir. It's one of the only things I do. Like, buddy, I know and have known that I don't have a future the way that, like, most humans ever born did.
Yeah. Like, everyone has to deal with the nothingness that awaits them, but you take a small sense of meaning in the fact that there's a continuity of the human experience, right? But that's not the case.
Yeah. And this is a very sort of crystallized example of something, but it's not just this one post. If you are online, if you're looking at the news, a very common refrain over and over is, you should be worried. And it's just like, I don't know, I think pretty much every therapist on the planet says otherwise.
You should be worried, and you should single-handedly fix it.
Yeah, you should be worried because if the more upset you are personally about this, the quicker it's getting fixed. Like, yeah, fucking right, dude, sure.
The challenge right now is that, like, obviously doomerism sucks, right?
Yeah.
It's pointless. It's self-defeating. Also, like, it doesn't make for good posts. Like, they're not that good, those posts. So, like, the game right now, I think for many people is like, okay, how do you sort of, like, make meaning in a world where, like, the trajectory and potential is rapidly reversing? But how do you do that without, like, fatalism? And that's, like, the game right now. And
yeah, and this worry shit, you should be worried, I mean, if we were to decode it into plain English, it's like, no, become a doomer. Because, like the logical endpoint of doomerism, and I'm going to put a little content warning for self-harm right here. But, like, the logical endpoint of doomerism is like, well, I'll kill myself. And then when the collapse happens, I won't have to suffer all of the hell. And when motherfuckers post, like, have you seen all this climate shit? You should be worried. Like, that's what they're telling you. And, buddy, I really like me, and when you're making a death threat against me, I get pissed. I don't want to do that shit. I don't need to hear that.
Because there's nothing actionable, too. There's no call to action. It's just like, are you feeling bad enough? Do you want to not feel bad enough? Do you know what you have to do to not feel bad enough? It's very upsetting. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's very like, oh, were you feeling good for a second? You immoral criminal. How dare you? You're derelict in your duty. You have to feel bad. And it's like, buddy, I am just a little animal, and all I have to do is eat my food pellet. What does it benefit any of us if while I'm trying to eat my food pellet, I'm also shaking with anxiety? I tell you what, it benefits nothing.
And this is something I struggled with, which is like, what is denialism at this stage? Like, if you don't engage, it's not like denialism. It's just like you are at this time not getting blasted by the fire hose of dread. That's all it is. It's not a state of ignorance. It is not like you're the cartoon ostrich sticking your head in the sand. Like this, it's. I don't want to get hit with the pain all the time.
It's. I mean, not to put a fine point on it, it's the only way all this is gonna work. Is if I'm allowed to just not be thinking about this some of the time, and that worries. The more I think about it, the more we're talking through this, the more like furious and like angry on like a moral level I am at this guy for posting this shit. I can't believe, and this is a funny example. It's not nearly on that level, but I just want to bring it up because, man, when it happened, I was like, am I in cartoon world? Did I write this as a gag? When I was in Spain visiting my in-laws, they have a lovely house that's on like the wall of a big valley, and you can look out and see the beautiful valley, and all the days were so beautiful, sunny days every single day, and it wasn't even that hot. Like, I know Spain is hot, and it was like the dead of summer, but like there was wind, pleasant breezes every day. In the shade, it wasn't that hot, so all you needed to do was wear a sun hat and you were good. And like, it's just this entire valley teemed with life, just plants and animals everywhere you see. And we went on little hikes around, and it was beautiful. And as a vacation, it was so fulfilling to me in exactly the way we're talking about. It got the fire hose of dread off of me. But my in-laws, God love them, they're great people. I would give them A+ in terms of my opinion on them. But they weren't on vacation. They were at their house. So it would follow that they would read the news as they would on any day. And you would not believe the amount of times when I was like sitting looking out over the valley with a cup of coffee, just like sighing with such contentment, and they're like, whoa, look at this. And they read some fucking headline that's like, oh, Russian permafrost defrosts and discovers a Terminator who is set to kill Tom Harrison only. Whoa, bad news, huh? And I'm just like, what are you doing? Why do you say it? Shut up.
Turns out there's a new type of fire in the Pacific Northwest.
The fire from Fire Punch that never goes out, that's real now.
Yeah, and you also, it's so childish to, like, be like, excuse me, you're fucking up my vibe. Like it's like you can't, like, you're a child if you try to stop that. So your choice is, like, just let it hit you a little bit and then think about olives.
Dude, the olives are so good. But yeah, just like, I don't know. It's just not helping to fucking focus on this. And I think this is a time to bring up something that is a concept that I remember Sandy Pug Games on Twitter, a homie of ours, was talking about. And I don't have the primary source in front of me, so I'm going to be paraphrasing. But it's just the feeling that, like, our generation, we've never known a time when there is not a just all-encompassing pressure over every part of life that is pressing things to get worse. There's just a huge, infinite, heavy blanket of evil over everything. And just it is as universal a force as gravity or magnetism. It's just one of those things that, like, math proves that it couldn't not exist. It has to be. There has to be a big blanket of evil pushing everything down.
You're forgetting a key element. When we were kids, public education was like, the blanket's gone. They're never coming back. Like that. I feel, so I'm 33 years old. It was just, I feel like I was uniquely timed just for like all of the pipeline of lies to be the funniest timed. I don't know. College was presented as like, just go. Like, it doesn't even matter what you do, because the people who were telling you to do that all got like fine jobs regardless of what they studied. So like it was this big purveyor of lies. Like, it was amazing.
We put the blanket over Russia, and then Russia stopped being the USSR, and then they got the blanket off of them, and now there's no blanket, and everything's great. And it's a nightmare to live under, because like part of it being the unending pressure, just a blanket that's pushing down forever, is that like activism and like doing good things, it never feels like an accomplishment. It feels like by some miracle we were able to get a rickety pole vertical, and it's making a little tent, and then we were huddling under. But eventually that pole is going to snap, and the fucking blanket that was being held up is going to crash down harder than ever and kill everyone underneath.
To be clear, like, the thing where you hold up a little pole is like the most invaluable work on the planet, though. I don't want to dismiss that, because it actually is. Just the gravity is a thing. It sucks.
Yeah, and this is why I double hate when there's like a big climate article, and I hate that because it is just a highfalutin way of saying you should be worried, which, as we've just said, is a code for like be a doomer, welcome death, and it's like, I don't like that. Shut up. Yeah. I won't do that. But so I hate that. I hate the fucking big climate articles for that reason. I understand why they have to happen, but I hate them. But what I really hate, what like is the fucking completely unnecessary twist of the knife, is how they all say at the end, that final paragraph, it's like, well, take heart, because not all hope is lost. If Jeff Bezos disbands Amazon today and becomes a subsistence farmer for the rest of his life, and it has to be today, if it's tomorrow, it won't work, then we might save some coastal cities. And it's like, that's not... Like, you can't just say, like, if a fairy saves us, we'll be okay. Because, like, the world taking action to save itself is fairy magic. It won't happen.
Yeah, if we want to change the climate scenario we're on, well, Godzilla's going to have to show up, and he's going to have to be real cool. It's going to be real helpful.
He's going to have to blow hard like he's cooling a big soup, and the ocean is going to get colder than it was. Like, we can't even fucking have people at the airport grab the forms that I had to fill out. And you're telling me in your article that if we dismantle capitalism and all heavy manufacturing this year, we might be fine. As though that's supposed to make me feel better.
There's a wonderful sort of comedic evolution, though, of like talking about airports, because it was like the hack 90s thing, because a bunch of weird stuff happens at the airport. You got all your weird habits and people laugh at them. Now it's just like, yeah, it's just a symptom of the rot, Western boil that we love. Yeah.
What's the deal with airline food? I'll tell you, it's the thing they give you just before the form that makes it feel like things are working, and that people who are in charge of this know what they're doing, but then they don't take the form. They don't take the form. They just stamp your fucking passport and let you walk through.
Before this happened, I always felt like cattle at like the airport. Like, it's just like I'm not like an anxious flyer, but just like sitting in a line, and it's just like, okay, now take off your belt fucking fast. Like, all that shit sucks. And that was before the virus. And I just feel like that's how every industry looks at you. Like, they see shambling people like hurriedly, like in a line trying to get processed so they can go see their family, and there's no humanity to it, because like we got to fill these seats up. And like that's every industry though. Like everyone would do that if they could, and airlines can because there has to be this like awful processing place.
It's exactly the same as Tom McHenry's story of when they built the cabinets over the heating vents in his office, and when it was winter, they would blast the heating as hot as possible, even though it didn't work. And it's as you said on that episode, it's like, hey guys, don't worry. We are using up all of the resources for the thing that you said you wanted. But don't worry, you're not going to see any benefit from it.
Yeah. Obviously, air travel is a huge contributor to like CO2 and all that stuff. And it's just funny because it's also the activity that removes your dignity. Like there's no joy in any aspect of this, right? Where you shave off the life of the planet to do this, and you don't even get to feel like a human, unless of course like those TikTok teens that like flew to get Chick-fil-A in that video that made me very upset.
Oh man. So on the plane, on the big transatlantic plane, when you get on, you can go left or right. And if you look to your head to the left, you see the first class section. And man, that makes me want to kill. They all have little pens where you have like a big cubicle all to yourself. And I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, what is this? Why? Okay. It did feel, I mean, especially cruel. Because I made a concerted effort on that vacation to sort of appreciate being alive on a beautiful world where beauty and joy, the rarest and most wonderful things, somehow found a way to exist and exist in a way that I can see them and love them. I tried to focus on that. But man, then you got to travel and it's like, not only is everything fucked, but I'm making it worse. Yeah. Oh no, the vaccine doesn't work anymore. Oopsie. I can catch it now. Oops.
Yeah, so instead of worrying all the time because of the climate and the impending doom, you should try scaring yourself because of something scary you write down. That's fun. I wrote down Evil Columbo yesterday, and I got so frightened.
Dude, he would frame you.
Yeah,
he'd be so good at it.
Yes. So Evil Columbo frames poor people. Like that's what he does.
Oh fuck! Wait, that's every cop.
but in true Columbo fashion, you don't realize you're trapped until at the very end. Just one more thing, and then you're fucked.
Yeah, that's true. A real cop would just walk up to a poor person and go, "I'll kill you," and you're just like, ah. But Evil Columbo, you think you got? Oh man, that's No, Joe, I'm thinking about Evil Columbo. The climate's off my mind completely. Oh my god, it worked.
Yeah, honestly, if you take care of Evil Columbo, the climate stuff is going to work itself out.
Cog Talk. Cog Talk.
I got to go back to the office. Here's the thing I noticed is that Delta and Lollapalooza are training in the hyperbolic time chamber, so they're really strong when I return in September. So they absolutely bust my vaccine. And I don't have an observation about this fact other than I don't love it. Like, that's it. Like, it sucks.
So, okay. When you said this, I was just like compelled to ask like clarifying questions. Because, and again, this is because I have a fucking idiot brain and I can't remember the things I've said dozens of times. Because I was like, well, I need to find out why. Like, why did they say you have to do this? And, of course, the answer is the machine will have blood. But I was just like, but, Joe, why?
The actual answer is that, like, there's a lot of Sbarros downtown, and they need to be fucking making a bunch of money at lunchtime. Like, that's the real reason.
The rents at Revival Food Hall are very high. But, like, no, Joe, they... Like, what... If you're comfortable sharing, like, what would... There had to have been wording, like, on the email. Like, it wasn't just, like, hello, pigs, return to office on this date or die. Like, there must have been some fake explanation they gave to the hogs to like trick the dumber ones, right?
I mean, the return to normalcy is a common sort of trope, but the real thing, and this isn't like a reason, but like it's the I believe inciting incident. The moment that Biden administration announcement about like if you're vaccinated, masks are optional. Like the minute that happened,
Which was just also, hello, all liars. You are free to do whatever you wish.
like when that happened, I felt like the machine that wants the blood, you know, the one we hate. I felt like it's sort of like, oh shit, I gotta wake up. Like that was its wake me from slumber phrase. I really do believe that because once that directive was out there, that like the big man at the top of the government says it's cool if you are vaccinated and you don't wear a mask inside, like all previous precautions are effectively like not important anymore. Like that was like the go ahead, not explicitly, and that's what really sort of upsets me about this whole thing is that like the orders weren't like back to normal, boys, like explicitly, but it was just like this is the nudge that really got everything going. I think I really believe that because there was I felt a momentum about the time that happened.
Yeah. I see what because if you are an evil person who loves to make other people suffer, that is to say, a boss of a company, you really, really want to have people commute and spend all day in a horrible building where they're being spied on all the time. You love that, and if there's a pandemic that makes it so that there is a legitimate, irrefutable excuse that says, I'm going to stay at home instead, you're furious, and you seethe every single day of your life. And when someone above you, when you can legitimately be like, actually, that was a good excuse a while ago, but the president says it's a bad excuse now. Yeah, you're going back, I guess. Fuck. It's insane. It really is just like someone looked at the machine and it's like, it used to be shinier. I need to get more blood on it. Because, like, it's absolutely illogical. It's bad for the business because, like, people are going to be less productive in the office. That is undeniable, especially after working from home and experiencing that and having to go back to the office. People are going to be less productive. It's going to be worse for business. It's going to be worse for the people, just like the mental health of people. And I know not everyone likes working from home. I know some people are like, it's awful. It's blending work and life. It's like, yeah, okay, well, I recognize that that's a valid point for some people, but also
but also even if you don't like it and you have to go back, that's like a change for like childcare issues, all this other stuff. The point is, even if you don't like it, the change sucks.
Yeah, and like even if you don't like it, like unless you live next door to work, like commuting so fucking bad, and it's worse, not only worse for people and worse for business, but it's like worse for fucking infrastructure because again, if everyone's commuting, then that's just gonna be more fucking traffic, more more strain on our useless infrastructure that was going to break down. And it's also just worse for public health for reasons that we've talked about, you know, the fucking Delta that now you can get it through your vaccine and it can give you long haul COVID symptoms even if you are never in danger of death.
Yeah,
you can just not taste again.
That's also the thing that sucks is I got vaccinated. Obviously, like, I didn't think it was over, but there was like some level of like, all right, I'm kind of protected. The sort of like feeling when you leave the home. Did a single like spiky red COVID thing go into my nose? Like there was like just like I didn't worry about that anymore.
It felt like if I was outside and I hit the quick save button, it would let me.
Yes. And now it's grayed out again.
Yeah, it's like can't save when enemies are near. And I'm like, oh, fuck, enemies are near.
Yeah. The thing that sucks also is an individual office can do the proper accommodations. It doesn't change the fact that I got to get on the train, dude. I got to get on either the blue or the pink line, and I'm going to be in people's armpit. So what I'm saying is an office can have like an army of people cleaning and sanitizing nonstop and doing everything, but like doesn't extend to the cattle cars I have to get in.
You have to go to the breath factory in order to get to work. So, and this is sort of like a thought exercise. I know you can't do this, but could you just be like, hello, I'm not gonna come to the office. I'm gonna do work from home as before, and I'm not going to come in. Could you just do, like, what would happen if you did that?
It would suck. I mean, like, it doesn't end with me getting what I want ever. It's just probably a long, pointless thing where I just kind of look like an asshole, which sucks. I'm not excited about going. The one element about going back that is a positive that is keeping it from seeming so dreadful, and I'm fully aware of like everything I just said and why it sucks. It's just like change of scenery is probably fine. It sucks because like my office, like where I have my like personal computer, man, I hate looking at it because I'm like in front of it to do the laptop all the time. So I don't even like being in the where my computer is at home because I associate with bad vibes. I'm hoping that if I'm at the office, I at least can sort of like decouple that a little bit so it all doesn't feel like one horrible like bad screen experience.
You gotta do what I do, and you gotta put a fucking piano right next to your computer so that when you're feeling awful, you play the piano.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Joe, here's something that you told me that blew my mind, which is that your manager wants you all to stay working from home.
I think my manager sees it as an easier option because he doesn't have to. Because put it this way, like he didn't have to like worry about where people were before. Yeah. To be clear, like we have tons of team meetings, so there's like there's line of sight on all the work being done, but there was no like attendance. I don't know. You see where I'm coming from. There's just busy work now. It's like there's like a school. A classroom element now.
It's another tracker. Trackers are the bane of office work. You got so many fucking trackers. And now this is tracker, which is like, is the Funko Pop on its shelf? Is it bleeding on the machine or no? Fuck. And also, you told me that you have full-time telecommuters on your team who were full-time telecommuters before the pandemic.
Yeah. I'm 100% not clear. It's not even like there are no full-time remote telecommuters anymore. It's like there are. It has to do with like the role we were at some point. It's clearly an arbitrary decision and it sucks. And this isn't like a very funny answer, but it really just feels like there's sort of like a hopeless momentum to all this that I can't really articulate about fighting, but
it's the blanket of evil.
Yeah, it's sort of like that, and it's just like, yeah, you can fight this, but it's just like a matter of like putting things off.
Yeah, you're just putting a vertical pole over the blanket, but the pole is the pressure on the pole is growing every day. It's gonna snap eventually.
Yeah, and and also like let's not be too negative here. Like I'm not looking at the bright side. Like I can like pay $18 for a sandwich and then like constantly be worried I'm too close to people at the park. Like that's fun.
Yeah, that's your hobby that you loved. You were always texting me about how much you love doing that.
Yeah, I actually did like it because I was playing a match 3 game and I didn't know about the virus.
I remember I used to fucking every day go and get lunch and sit and look at the river, and I really enjoyed that. But I tell you what I enjoy even more is not fucking going into the office. So my office, I truly hope, continues to be remote, and signs point to we are going to be remote indefinitely, because there was a big all hands where the CEO was like, hello everybody, so we've got the survey results from everyone about the office and possible move back. And we heard you loud and clear. 87% of you said you do not want to go back to the office ever. So, and it's like, I think they realized it's going to be a lot of fucking work to make everyone come back. Everyone's going to be mad. So they're not going to do it. I really fucking hope they're not going to do it. And I've had this plan. I've had this line in my head since the beginning of this. And I hope that if I ever have to say it, I have the courage to do so. Which is just like, as soon as there's any suggestion of mandatory return to the office, I'm just gonna like call up all my managers and be like, "Hello, is refusing to do that and working from home a fireable offense? Because if it is, you need to do that right now because I'm not gonna come back."
Let's get that paperwork going.
We need to get that out of the way so that we just make a decision and don't have a long, ugly discussion. Just like if it is something I'm going to get fired for, do that. If it's not, then we're good. Then I'll stay. It's just so dumb.
I think there are two types of companies when it comes to like this return to office thing. It's like there are companies probably like yours, which probably don't have like a ton of capital investments, and they're like, whatever, people can do their shit from everywhere. And then there's other companies who, before the pandemic, did like massive either real estate or capital investments, and they're like, shit, like we have to get utility out of this huge buy, or it's a colossal failure. And that is why some people also have to go back.
Yeah. It's pretty bad. Joe, it's pretty bad. This is another reason why I'm so furious when those climate articles say, like, it won't be so bad if everything gets fixed today. And it's like, buddy, offices are fucked. They're broken and an evil system. And we were handed a truly act of God type scenario that all but demanded that this broken system be changed. And as soon as that act of God even has the illusion of abating for a little bit, every ghoul who loves blood is like, thank God, time to go back to the old ritual. Draw up the sigils, friends, we need fresh blood. And it's like, okay.
Wake up, it's 2012.
Yeah. I just like, people are like, well, one day there's going to be a climate catastrophe so bad that people are going to, the rich people are going to have to take action. No.
Yeah.
Like, there won't.
I don't think that's a useful or healthy exercise to frame any sort of bad thing that could happen as eventually it'll be so bad that someone will have to do something. You're setting yourself up for a series of successive failures and upsets. That's kind of how I felt about, I mean, the first COVID ramp. And I was like, is there a number when we like change how we're talking about it? And the answer was no.
Yeah. No.
The answer was no.
Folks, it's bad. And again, we don't want to be too negative. We don't want to be, contributing to this you should be worried doomer feeling. So instead of leaving you on a bad note, if evil Columbo ever sort of loses his potency, Stoner Goku. Just write about Stoner Goku.
Stoner Goku's good. Man. I love big t-shirts where Goku or Vegeta smoke huge joints. I think that's really great.
There was this place near me that this is before weed was legal in Illinois, that was called the Smoke Joint, and it had a big poster in the window of all of the Looney Tunes smoking fat fucking blunts, all with bloodshot eyes, and they were all like hanging out, and like Taz had a bong.
You asked me what dabbing was, and you're like, why is one of them gooey?
Yeah, dude, I didn't know. And I was like, I wonder if they sell weed here. And then the next week, I walked by that store, and it was renamed to Tobacco Junction and had no such posters anymore. I wonder if it's back now that weed's legal.
This is a story of Icarus. They were too bold. Like, honestly, they didn't have to do all the Looney Tunes.
Just Bugs and Daffy. Bugs has a blunt, and Daffy's got some gummies. And, like, that's plausible deniability. It's a tobacco cigarette. Bugs has bloodshot eyes for a separate reason, medical reason. Don't ask him about it. He's sensitive. And Daffy, those are truly bright colors. They're a tasty treat for all ages.
The name change is good. It's just like, Tobacco Junction. Tobacco's in the name because that's what we're about.
Thank you for listening to Anime Sickos. I've been Tom, an Anime Sicko.
I'm Joe, an Anime Sicko.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Anime Sickos. I've been Tom, a sicko. You can follow me on Twitter at TomHarrison19. Joe is also a sicko. You can follow him on Twitter at ShariaUncle. You can follow Anime Sickos on Twitter at Anime Sickos, or email us at animesickos@gmail.com. Please leave us a review or something. I don't know. Tell a friend. Anyway, until next time, bye.